I was watching Thanksgiving, and Dak Prescott was yelling into every single living room. Every single living room, about 75 times. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, here we go. We actually have a video of it right now. Here's Dak in his cadence, apparently, in 2023.
Yeah! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
Here we go! Normally it's like red 18, green 19, like you hear about this. And then Russell Wilson has this cadence that I heard, and it kind of infiltrated. I think I was listening in my car as we were driving home from Lucas Oil Stadium, and it sounded like it was 1910 with football. This is what he said.
Ready, set, hut one, hut two, hut three.
Hut three. I didn't even know that existed. So, like, you're a person to ask who, because obviously the hard count and the cadence is something that you're like world renowned for at this point. Why is the "here we go" entering my life, and how did this not happen beforehand? And what is like the evolution of cadences that we've got to this point where there's so many different ones seemingly at the same time?
Well, I think that's a great question. I mean, just first I want to talk about Dak because he's become one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. I've watched more football this year than any other year because in normal years you're getting ready for a game, so you're never watching football, right? And you might see some scores on your phone, and maybe every now and then see a Sunday night game, and you might get part of Monday or Thursday, but you're just not watching a lot of games. And this year I watched a lot more games than usual, and Tom had some comments about Brady had some comments about some of the mediocrity in the game, and I just want to say Dak is not who he was talking about.
Okay.
For a number of reasons, but I just love that he's really playing the position. What I mean by that is I'm watching him make Ringo calls, so that's protection adjustments against these crazy looks and picking things up. I'm watching him, bring the tight end back in against zero pressure and throw an old concept we used to run for a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb in the back of the end zone. I'm watching him use his cadence beautifully and get into this rhythmic "here we go" into like dummy, using it as a dummy sometimes, doing it twice, into like other cadences. I mean, the last 4 or 5 weeks I've gotten to see more of their games, and I just want to say, like, he's playing a position in a really impressive way. And for whatever reason, maybe because he's the Cowboys quarterback and it's one of those premier positions in sports, like I feel like the Green Bay quarterback has been for a long time, and some other, positions in various sports, he might take a little more shit than he deserves, or maybe it's deserving of the position, I guess. But I love the way he's playing, and I love the way he's playing, like really playing. I'm not talking about just like, making good throws. I'm talking about, like, it seems more rare that guys are actually really playing a position where you're making adjustments, you're handling everything line of scrimmage. Now you're doing this crazy cadence stuff. Like, I love it, and I just want to shout out Dak for, like, really impressing me multiple times.
Hey, Dak, he doesn't hear that a lot.
No, he doesn't.
Doesn't get to hear that a lot. Way to go, Dak. Here we go.
But the evolution of the cadence from my perspective, Brett obviously came up with a rhythmic cadence that has a snap point a little bit different than maybe we grew up, where it was like down, set, hike, or go, and you snap the ball on the hike or the go. This became a snap point at different times, whether it's second number or second color, and created this rhythmic type of cadence that you also were able to adjust to draw people off sides. Then there was the fad with the Omaha stuff that I think Peyton was doing, which was really just a way to do all his crazy stuff he was doing at the line of scrimmage. People were like, what does Omaha mean? Omaha meant, hey, we got 2 seconds on the play clock, and I need this shit snapped quickly. So I'm just going to say Omaha.
Yeah.
Right? It was a rhythmic thing to get us in and out of a cadence late on the play clock, so we could do everything else in line of scrimmage, his real calls, his dummy calls, his adjustments. And then obviously when you have that, then you can change. Then you can go, hey, second Omaha here, or have some code words that mean no snap and different things. We obviously use the cadence for years in Green Bay as a weapon. And I always said it doesn't even matter if we draw them off sides because if they're thinking about it and they're watching the TV copy and they're studying it, they're going to be a little bit slower off because they just don't want to jump off sides. And then obviously we used 12 on the field for a long time as well, where we're taking shots. But if you look at the interesting evolution is that not every team still is willing to snap it and take a shot. I mean, for a long time, I felt like Cincinnati, I remember, would snap it and take a knee, which I always thought was wild. Indy, I think for the most part, would try and just tap the guy. So a guy comes offside, tap him. Well, I always said, man, snap that thing. Let's take a shot. I don't care if you block anybody, just snap that. And then what you saw as well, coming out of a 2015 game with some complaints by a certain coach. Now they started whistling things very quickly. If a lineman moved slightly before the snap, that they would blow the play dead. It really had to be guys offsides, line does not move at all, will allow the play to happen. And then the other adjustment was, which didn't happen, I remember a play specifically from 2009 against Detroit where Vanden Bosch was way offsides, and I did some pirouette spin around and hit Donald Driver for about 50 yards. That play wouldn't exist in today's game because there's unabated to the quarterback, which means that the defensive player is in a compromising position for the offense and really for the quarterback based on his jump. So now it's a little bit more difficult to get people, but we got people 3 times in the game on Friday. Timmy did a great job with the cadence. Unfortunately, the downside of it is you can't have your own guys jump off sides. You can't have a false start. So we had, I think, 3 offsides and 2 false starts and a holding, which negated the other one. So overall, it's kind of a wash. That needs to be a little bit of a bigger weapon when we're using. That's why I think some teams don't want to use it. But I love what Dak did. That was beautiful. I'm laughing at Russ. I think looking at the score in that, it looked like it was 24-12 or 27-12 at that point. So I don't know if he's messing around because sometimes in practice I'll do stuff like that where I'll change the cadence and just say hut 1, hut 2, whatever. The fact that they snapped that on hut 3 is pretty amazing. But if you have a rhythmic cadence, you can get guys. There's 24-12 guys. If you have a rhythmic cadence, you can get guys to jump off sides, and they can really be a weapon because at bare minimum they're thinking about it, and if they're thinking about it, they're not going to quite get off on the snap.
What is it normally? It's normal number, color, right? Number, color, and then you bounce it back. How did we get to here we go? And are we just looking for any 3-syllable? What is the how do you think Dak ended up with here we go?
I think you should ask Dak. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. I love it, though, because it's loud. Everybody can hear it. And if you watch and I was watching the synchronization of the plays, right? He started with here we go, set hut. And he did that, 3, 4, 5 times. And then came back, and it was a no play. And he go, here we go, set hut. And they jumped, and they got a freebie, right? And then they came back and did a couple of them. So I love the sequencing, and that's the beauty of a guy really playing a position. And there's a lot of great quarterbacks. There's only a few guys that really play the position, meaning they do all the little things. And Dak's doing it, and he's having a hell of a season. And it's been fun to watch this year.
Yeah, it's like old school feel. And you talk about chatting with. Thank you for the explanation of all that, by the way. I had a pretty good cadence for field goal. You know what I mean? I had a pretty good cadence for field goal.
Yeah. How many times at field goal would you ever do a double hands?
A lot. I'm going.
Yeah, you would.
Like this? No, but I'd go on 4 sometimes. We're talking about on 4.
You'd look at Adam, and he'd give you a nod, and then you'd flash your hands multiple times.
Yeah, with a full hit, the whole trying to get the edge guys to go. And you can't do that with a lot of kickers though. Like Vinatieri, you can do that with. I can go but not a lot of people you can do that with.
But did you tell the snapper, hey, if they jump, snap that thing and let's go fire, let's go deep?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to drop kick this thing? Or no, we're going to go ahead and give it a go? No, I never did that. But the offensive line appreciated it because guys couldn't just, you know what I mean? Couldn't just steamroll. That's the worst position in sport.
You didn't have a Costanzo or somebody, it was hey, he was playing the wing, and you're like, hey, snap this thing if they jump, and hey, you just go deep.
Yeah. You know how we practice fire, fire. That's always the practice. Fire, fire. Never once has it ever worked.
Nope.
Ever. The amount of people that need to hear it, the amount of people that don't need to be blocked too. They're like, all right, wing, you're going to go out into the flat. Tight end, go ahead and break. You're going to a corner. Holder, go ahead and roll that way. It's like if that ball's rolling on the ground, both the tackle and the end are already on the ground because they got ran over by people. There's people in the backfield. It's an impossible. But yeah, Costanzo was a target of basically every single fake field goal that we were to run. But Adam Vinatieri was chasing a record, you see, a point record. So there wasn't a lot of, hey, we're going for touchdowns here. We are, we're trying to kick field goals in this entire thing. But yeah, we used to go on 3 or 4. We used to go on 3 or 4, legitimately. And it was like a big deal. It's a weapon. You know, we used to move 5 yards forward. That's a big deal whenever you're talking about kicks and everything like that.
And then Brendan Schooler this year, the way he blocked the field goals because they weren't going on 1 or 2 is whenever the
jumped right on top. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Whenever they get you, that's why the cadences are so damn important. But you've weaponized it more than anybody, I think. And to hear that wasn't the norm before you were doing it is crazy to me. The Bengals used to just take a knee. They get a guy to jump offside. All right, we did it. Let's get 5.
Yep. Wow.
Let's take a knee and get out of here. I just assumed the deep shot was like always the thing. I just assumed that was the case.
No, well, you gotta coach it up. You gotta coach up. Like I think a lot of coaches are thinking, well, what if we get 12 power on and they jump off sides? And I'm always like, yeah, just tell the backs to block, and if the tight end gets out, great. If not, take a shot down the field.
Here it is. Here's one against the Chiefs. 17-7-2 in the second quarter. That's quite a dagger. Quite a dagger.
James Jones there.
Yeah, there's we watched a highlight of you doing this. He got like 5 or 6 of them. Jordy Nelson, there was a bunch to Jordy.
Oh, don't play those. Don't play
a bunch to I think you got Darius one time.
Don't play those.
On that particular thing.
Richard Rodgers.
Wow.
What a crew.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one to Richie there. That was using silent cadence, which also is a weapon as well, and it's tough. But the whole point is, coaches have fears around, things, and I always said, let's just practice it. Let's just, we'll either get our defense or do some walkthroughs and let them jump and just practice getting into, it could be a run play. Let's run, toss 18 semi and then have them jump off sides and see if we can react to it. Unless we do it, but they do it wrong once, that's actually probably the best learning. And you can come back and be, hey, then the line starts thinking about it. Then you start asking, I like to get the line involved in it. Hey, what cadence do you want? And Dave Bakhtiari was, he was always offering suggestions about anything, protection-wise, play-wise, cadence-wise. He always had his certain things. And it was funny because he would always offer, he'd want to tell me what to do cadence on. And Brian would always have to verify what the cadence was. So Brian Ballara, who's awesome, just retired as a Packer, but awesome tackle. Okay. Not as much as Chad Clifton. Chad, it didn't matter, and Ty, you probably laugh at this, but Chad, I swear to God, every single play, breaking the huddle, asked what the cadence was on again.
That's a nice reminder for you. That's a nice reminder for you.
It's a great reminder. Brian was much less than that, but Dave always told me what to call it on, and Brian would, every now and then ask me what it was on. But,
hey, we missed Bach this year. There's no Bach this year. I didn't even think about that until just now. No Bakhtiari. Last time we heard from him, he was flipping the turf to the grass in that sit-down, isolated video.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.